Who are we who have been so blessed to share our stories like this, to speak across centuries? Maybe you will answer all the questions I have asked. Maybe you will be the one to make all this suffering worth something in the end. Ezio Auditore da Firenze, 1512. Hello and welcome to Visions of the Past. My name is Andrew and I'm the host of this Assassin's Creed lore podcast. This is episode 50, and today is a very special episode. Today, we are celebrating the 1-year anniversary of this podcast. I started Visions of the Past on December 4th, 2019, and this has been a year full of achievements and blessings that I did not think would happen when I started. Visions of the Past has completely exceeded every expectation that I had when I sat down to record that very first episode. When the first episode on Altair launched, my goal was to get roughly 3,000 listens in the first year, and I thought that was a stretch. Over the past 365 days, the podcast has reached 5,500 total listens. I couldn't have done it without you, and I want to thank each and every one of you for listening and help me reach that milestone. I'm a huge Assassin's Creed fan, ever since getting Assassin's Creed 2 for Christmas in 2009. In fact, when I started dating my wife in 2013, I turned her into an Assassin's Creed fan too. So much so that a year later, our wedding had an Assassin's Creed theme. Red and black colors and Assassin vs. Templar inspired decorations. Doing this podcast has given me a chance to relive some of my favorite moments in Assassin's Creed. I've revisited several characters and lore items, diving into each to learn more about how they play out, not only in the game, but also in the comics, books, and side stories as well. Over the year, I've done episodes on Monteriggioni and Galena Voronina, episodes 14 and 23, and even tackled the difficult topic of the empirical truth in episode number 32. But by far, my favorite episode was number 17, on the Italian Brotherhood of Assassins, because we got to explore the assassins that helped Ezio before, during, and after his time. We've even extended the reach of Visions of the Past by sharing it on YouTube and expanded social media from Twitter only to adding Instagram as well. Speaking of social media, I'd be remiss not to mention one of the highlights of this year, seeing narrative director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Darby McDevitt, retweet the Maria Thorpe podcast, which was episode 33, and stating that the character is close to him because his first work on the Assassin's Creed series was in Assassin's Creed Bloodlines, when he wrote the relationship between Maria and Altair. Darby's retweet isn't the only interaction that the podcast has had with creators within Assassin's Creed. I also had conversations with 2 different creators of Assassin's Creed comics, comic writers Caravan Scott of Assassin's Creed Valhalla Song of Glory, and Anthony Del Cole, who not only wrote the Assassin's Creed comic that introduced Charlotte de la Cruz, but also wrote Assassin's Creed Gold. As the podcast grew over the year, some episodes were requested by members of the audience, including Tier 1 Assassin on Twitter, who suggested episode 29 on the significance of 72. Bubbles Viper on Twitter, suggesting Yusuf Tazim, episode 39. Twitter's The Graveyard Gamer, who gave me the idea to do the Fate of Atlantis DLC. And over on Instagram, Jacko1983 suggested an episode on Edward Kenway. Watch for those 2 new episodes in the coming weeks. A number of reviews have also come in over on Apple Podcasts, including Nick Barish stating the podcast is a perfect way to remember why we love the game so much and how incredible and in-depth the lore is. I highly recommend this podcast if you love AC lore. Cbro171 stating that because the AC series is so long, he'd forgotten many things, but that this podcast has been a fantastic way to remember previous titles. Also, has quite a bit of info that he knew nothing about due only to playing the games. A fantastic listen if you're interested in the lore. And finally, Medhu Charek stating that this podcast has a lot of great info that either he didn't know or had just forgotten. Thank you for the kind words and for the support. I also want to give a special shout out and thank you to Luis Chase of the Rookery Archives and Declan Rose from Let's Talk Assassin's Creed for being on Visions of the Past, and to Declan again for having me on as a guest for Let's Talk Assassin's Creed. Recording those episodes were so much fun. Assassin's Creed has been through a lot this year, seeing the release of Assassin's Creed Gold, an audio-only novel, in February, and the release of the main series game Assassin's Creed Valhalla and its tie-in comic Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Song of Glory, in November. The community also saw the creation of the Assassin's Creed Sisterhood, a group created by community mentors Culprit and Sebastian, to not only to highlight the women of the franchise, but to support the women of the community and the development team, and to lead the charge for a better representation of women within Assassin's Creed, and for better treatment of women within Ubisoft itself. With all those good things that came out of this year, it all wasn't great. Ubisoft, the company behind Assassin's Creed, saw a scandal that led numerous people to leave the company. But this event, along with the Assassin's Creed Sisterhood group, I hope will lead to better female representation as lead characters within the games. Even with the news from Ubisoft and what felt like poor marketing around Assassin's Creed Valhalla's release on a new generation of consoles, the player base across all platforms has more than doubled the player base from day one of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Every year has ups and downs, and this year is no different, although 2020 has been a difficult year, to say the least, for so many around the world. I recognize that I am truly blessed to have had the opportunity to share my love for Assassin's Creed lore with you through this podcast, and I'm thankful for the conversations that we've had over the past year. And while this year's lows are really low, the year has ended on a good note with the release of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I'm excited to see this podcast continue to grow and expand as we go into 2021. Thank you for listening, for your love of Assassin's Creed, and for joining me today. I release new episodes every Tuesday, so be sure to tune in for those. And if you love the Visions of the Past podcast, I'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on Apple Podcasts. If you have any questions about Assassin's Creed or topics you'd like me to cover, please feel free to hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at visions_AC, and you can find those links in the show notes below. Until next time, my assassin friends, make sure to follow the Creed, and to those Templars listening, may the Father of Understanding guide you.